Hey, thanks for checking out my video. Today we're going to make a brown bag apple pie. And it's just what it sounds like. We're going to make an apple pie and we're going to put it in a paper bag, put it in the oven, and it bakes up beautifully. There's no mess because if it spills over, it's right inside the paper bag, so it's nice that way too. I'm going to use a ready-made pie shell. A lot of times I buy the kind that you roll out, but I just decided to buy this time. And I don't have a deep dish one, but you could use a deep dish one if you wanted to. But let's get started. I took a 3-pound bag of apples, and you can use Granny Smith or whatever. Those are what are probably most preferred for apple pie, Granny Smiths. But I'm using Honey Crisp because I had a bag full of them and I want to use them up. So I've got 3 pounds. That was 5 big apples, and I chopped them up, and I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in with them. And then I'm also going to put 2 tablespoons of flour. And then for spices, I have a teaspoon of cinnamon, a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, and a pinch of ginger. I'm just going to mix it all up. If you had a deep dish, pie dish, you could use an extra apple or 2. But if I put any more in this, I don't think that it would fit. Okay, I'm going to put this in our shell. Whoops. And you actually want it to mound up high because the apples, they get real tender and they sink down, so you want it to pile up high when you're getting it ready. I'm going to use every one of these apples, and I know it looks like they're not going to fit, but I'm going to make them fit. So I know that looks like I've maybe overfilled it, but I haven't. Trust me, it's going to be, if you use much less, it sinks down so low that your pie is kind of, you know, short and half empty. So you want to pile it up high. So this is actually just perfect. Okay, so now we're going to make the topping for it, which is kind of like a streusel type topping, so it comes out sort of like a Dutch apple pie. First thing I'm going to do is I need a half a cup of butter, and I like to cut it up into small pieces. Oven's ready. And that's another, that's one thing that's kind of unusual. You bake this pie not only in a brown paper bag, but you bake it at 425 degrees, which would make you think, oh my God, I'm going to start that bag on fire, but it doesn't. Oh, but the first thing I need to tell you about that is you have to leave in just your bottom shelf. You have to pull out the other racks. My oven has 3 racks, so I pulled them all out, you know, the extra 2 out, and I just have 1 rack in there now. Because you don't want the bag touching the top of the oven. So, okay, so there's our butter. Now I need a half a cup of sugar, brown sugar. And I need a half a cup of flour. Half a cup of flour. Okay, so I like to use a whisk to combine it all together because it helps break up the, even though I cut the butter, it breaks it up into even smaller pieces. You know what, I think I said half a cup of brown sugar. I actually need a cup. So I'm gonna put another half a cup in there. Just want to break up the pieces of butter until they're like, oh, I don't know, the size of maybe peas. And of course they're not going to all be uniform, but you just don't want huge blobs of butter. Just want it to look crumbly. And it does. Okay, so we're going to put this on our pie. I already know that it's going to spill over and make a bit of a mess, so I'm going to lay it on here to help me with cleanup. I'm just going to put it on here. Put the rest on by hand. Okay, so now I'm going to grab all these little hunks of butter that fell over the edge and get them back on there, because it's the butter that makes the topping so good. Okay, so now we're going to put it on in our paper bag, and I'm going to put the paper bag on a baking sheet. Okay, so then you just have to find a way to close up the end. And you can staple it, or you can use paper clips, which is what I'm going to do. I have some of these like binder clips. That's what I'm going to use, but you could just staple this right here. Okay, that's ready to go. I'm going to put it in the oven at 425 for about an hour, and then when it comes out, we're just going to cut open the paper bag and it'll be perfect. So I'll see you in an hour. Hey, I'm back. The pie is out of the oven. Just came out. It's super hot. It was really, I could hear it bubbling. We're going to take a look at it. And I wanted to mention a couple things. You're going to smell the paper bag while it's baking. The first time I ever baked one of these in a paper bag, I was convinced that it was going to start on fire because I could really smell the paper. And it turned out great, and I've made several since then, so I just know to expect that you're going to smell what smells like burning paper, but you know, it gets a little extra brown around the edge, but it doesn't start on fire, so don't worry about that. And I also wanted to mention this is my 100th video, so if you want to check out any of my others, it's Rhonda's Thrifty Kitchen. And do me a favor, hit subscribe. It's free to you and it helps me out a lot. So okay, let's take a look at this pie. perfect. You can see that. I'm going to try to give you a better view there. Looks perfect. And it's going to kill me, but I'm going to have to wait a couple hours probably before I can cut into this. But I'll be back when it cools down a little bit. Okay, so we're ready to cut the pie. And remember how I told you that, you know, I piled it really high with apples, but that it was going to sink down? It definitely did. Now it's just looks like an average size pie, but if I had only put enough apples in it to just barely fill it, it would be kind of a sunken pie. So this turned out great. There we go. That's a nice looking piece. I'm going to put some ice cream on it for my husband. So my husband and I just finished this pie and it was super good. The Honeycrisp apples worked really well. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and do me a favor, drop me a comment if you make it and let me know what kind of apples you used and how it turned out. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope to see you again soon. Take care.